Some of the most intelligent people you know are quietly destroying their lives. They understand complex ideas. They give brilliant advice. They can explain exactly why other people fail. But they still repeat the same mistakes, trust the wrong people, lose control of their emotions, and waste years waiting for motivation. Because knowing more does not automatically make you smarter. Real intelligence begins when you can see what is controlling you while it is happening. The emotion beneath your decision. The insecurity behind someone's words. The habit that keeps stealing your future. Most people never develop that awareness. And that makes them extremely easy to manipulate. By social pressure. By comfort. By fear. By their phones. And, most dangerously, by their own minds. You do not need to memorize 1,000 facts to become dangerously smart. You need to understand a few truths so deeply that you can no longer be controlled by the same patterns. The first truth is uncomfortable. Your mind is not always trying to make your life better. Most of the time, it is trying to make your life familiar. There is a difference. A better life requires uncertainty. A familiar life feels predictable, even when it hurts. That is why people return to relationships that damage them. Why they procrastinate on opportunities they claim to want. Why they stay silent around disrespectful people, then replay the conversation for hours afterward. The brain often prefers a familiar pain over an unfamiliar possibility. You may call it bad luck. You may call it laziness. You may say, this is just who I am. But often, you are simply repeating what your nervous system has learned to recognize. If chaos was normal in your past, peace may feel empty. If criticism was common, kindness may feel suspicious. If love always had to be earned, you may feel uncomfortable around people who accept you without making you perform. This is why self-awareness can feel painful. It forces you to question whether your personality is truly your personality or a collection of survival strategies you never updated. Pause for a moment. Think about one behavior you keep promising to change. Maybe you avoid difficult conversations. Maybe you keep checking your phone instead of working. Maybe you become attached too quickly. Maybe you hide your real opinion because you are afraid of disappointing people. Do not ask, what is wrong with me? Ask a better question. What is this behavior protecting me from? Procrastination may be protecting you from the possibility of failure. Perfectionism may be protecting you from criticism. People-pleasing may be protecting you from rejection. Emotional distance may be protecting you from attachment. Every destructive habit gives you something in the short term. Relief. Control. Distraction. Approval. Until you identify the reward, you will keep fighting the behavior without understanding why it survives. That is the first sign of dangerous intelligence. You stop judging the pattern and start studying it. You become curious about yourself. Not indulgent. Not self-pitying. Observant. You notice what happens before the habit. What feeling appears? What thought enters your mind? What situation activates the old response? Once you can observe a pattern, you are no longer completely trapped inside it. But understanding yourself is only half the game. You also need to understand other people. And here is where many intelligent people become surprisingly foolish. They listen too closely to words. Words matter. But behavior is usually more honest. Someone can say they respect you while repeatedly wasting your time. They can say they care while only appearing when they need something. They can promise change every week and continue making the same choice. A dangerously smart person does not become cynical. They become accurate. They do not assume everyone is lying. But they stop giving words more importance than repeated behavior. Watch patterns. Who becomes kind only after hurting you? Who supports you privately but embarrasses you publicly? Who asks for your honesty, then punishes you when you give it? Who praises your ambition until your progress makes them feel insecure? People reveal themselves through consistency, especially when there is nothing to gain. Pay attention to how someone behaves when they are frustrated. When they are told no. When they are not the center of attention. When another person succeeds. Charm can be performed. Patience is harder to fake. Respect is harder to fake. Emotional control is harder to fake. This also applies to you. Your real character is not revealed when everything is going according to plan. It appears when your ego is threatened. When you are ignored. When someone disagrees with you. When progress is slow and nobody is applauding. Anyone can feel disciplined when they are inspired. Intelligence is knowing that inspiration is temporary. And building a system that works without it. Motivation asks, do I feel ready? Discipline asks, what did I decide? That difference sounds small. It can change an entire life. Most people negotiate with themselves too much. They wake up planning to exercise. Then the mind says, you are tired. They plan to work on something important. The mind says, check your messages first. They decide to stop contacting someone who constantly disrespects them. Then loneliness appears and whispers, maybe this time will be different. Every time you break a promise to yourself, you teach your mind that your decisions are optional. This damages something deeper than productivity. It damages self-respect. Confidence is not created by repeating positive sentences while ignoring your behavior. Confidence grows when your actions give you evidence that you can trust yourself. You said you would get up. You got up. You said you would finish the task. You finished it. You said you would stop chasing someone who treats you like a backup option. You tolerated the loneliness and kept your boundary. That is how confidence is built. Quietly. Through evidence. Here is a simple rule. Make smaller promises, but keep more of them. Do not create a perfect routine for the next 12 months. Choose one action you can complete today, especially when you do not feel like doing it. Read 5 pages. Walk for 10 minutes. Work without your phone for 25 minutes. Send the message you have been avoiding. Clean the space you keep complaining about. The action may look small, but the identity behind it is not. You are teaching yourself, when I decide, I act. Now notice what your mind may be doing. It may be searching for something more dramatic. A secret technique. A sudden transformation. An intense burst of motivation. That search is part of the trap. The brain loves the excitement of planning because planning gives you the emotional reward of progress without the discomfort of action. You watch another video. Buy another notebook. Create another schedule. Promise that Monday will be different. You feel productive, but nothing has been risked. Real change is often boring. It is repetition without applause. It is leaving the phone in another room. It is doing one more attempt after the excitement disappears. It is saying no without writing a 5-paragraph explanation. It is accepting that discomfort is not proof that something is wrong. Sometimes discomfort is simply the feeling of an old identity losing control. This brings us to another truth. Your attention is your life. Not metaphorically. Practically. Whatever repeatedly captures your attention begins shaping your thoughts, emotions, desires, and standards. If your attention is constantly fragmented, your mind becomes reactive. You struggle to think deeply. Boredom becomes unbearable. Silence feels uncomfortable. You begin reaching for stimulation before you have even identified what you are feeling. The phone is rarely just a phone. It can become an escape hatch from every difficult emotion. Confusion. Loneliness. Anxiety. Self-doubt. The moment discomfort appears, you scroll. And the discomfort disappears for a few seconds. That brief relief teaches the behavior to return. This is why attention control is one of the most powerful forms of intelligence. A person who cannot control their attention cannot reliably control their direction. Try this. Before opening an app, pause and ask, what am I looking for? Information? Connection? Entertainment? Or escape? Do not judge the answer. Just answer honestly. That 2-second pause interrupts unconscious behavior. It returns choice to you. And choice is where power begins. The same principle applies to emotions. Emotional intelligence does not mean staying calm all the time. It means recognizing that an emotion is information, not an instruction. Anger may tell you that a boundary has been crossed. It does not automatically tell you to attack. Fear may tell you that something is uncertain. It does not automatically tell you to run. Jealousy may reveal a desire you have refused to admit. It does not automatically prove that another person has wronged you. Loneliness may tell you that you need connection. It does not tell you to return to someone who repeatedly damages your peace. Feelings are real. But the story attached to the feeling may be inaccurate. You can feel rejected without being worthless. You can feel behind without actually being too late. You can feel nervous and still be capable. You can miss someone and still understand that they should not be in your life. Dangerous intelligence is the ability to hold two truths at once. You can love someone and set a boundary. You can understand why someone hurt you without giving them unlimited access to you. You can forgive and still leave. You can be confident and still admit that you are wrong. Emotionally immature people need one side to be completely good and the other completely bad. Mature people can see complexity without becoming confused by it. They understand motives, but they still judge actions. They show empathy without abandoning standards. They listen without surrendering their judgment. This protects you from one of the most common manipulation tactics, forced urgency. Decide now. Prove that you care. Everyone else agrees. You are overthinking. Why are you making this difficult? Whenever someone tries to rush an emotional decision, slow down. Pressure reduces reflection. And people often use pressure when careful thinking would not benefit them. You do not need to answer immediately. You do not need to explain every boundary. You do not need to attend every argument you are invited to. Silence is not always weakness. Sometimes silence is what happens when you no longer need another person to misunderstand you correctly. But be careful. Silence can also become avoidance. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Are you staying quiet because the conversation is pointless? Or because you are afraid to speak clearly? Are you protecting your peace? Or protecting yourself from discomfort? The smartest questions are often the ones that expose our own excuses. That is why intelligent people regularly challenge their first interpretation. Instead of asking, why is this person disrespecting me, ask, what behavior am I continuing to accept? Instead of asking, why am I not motivated, ask, what action would I take if motivation never arrived? Instead of asking, why does nobody understand me, ask, have I clearly communicated what I need? Instead of asking, what if I fail, ask, what happens if I remain exactly where I am? Better questions produce better decisions. And better decisions, repeated long enough, create a different identity. There is one more idea you must understand. You are always training people how to treat you. Not through speeches. Through consequences. When someone repeatedly crosses a boundary and nothing changes, they learn that the boundary is only a sentence. When you are always available, even after being ignored, they learn that your time has no cost. When you laugh at disrespect to avoid tension, people may assume the disrespect is acceptable. This does not mean becoming cold or aggressive. It means making your behavior consistent with your words. A boundary is not an attempt to control another person. It is a decision about what you will do. Not, you are not allowed to speak to me like that. But, when you speak to me like that, I will end the conversation. Not, you must appreciate me. But, I will stop investing in relationships where effort only moves in one direction. Clear boundaries expose unclear relationships. Some people will respect you more. Others will accuse you of changing. They are right. You are changing. You are no longer making yourself smaller to keep everyone comfortable. And yes, that change may cost you certain relationships. But constantly betraying yourself also has a cost. You pay through resentment, exhaustion, confusion. A life built around being accepted by people you do not even respect. At some point, you must decide which pain you are willing to carry. The pain of growth or the pain of repetition. The pain of temporary loneliness or the pain of permanent self-abandonment. The pain of discipline or the pain of knowing you could have done more. There is no completely painless life. There is only pain that builds you and pain that slowly reduces you. This is the emotional turning point most people avoid. Nobody is coming to force you into the life you secretly want. No one will remove every distraction. No one will arrive each morning and protect your focus. No one will always remind you of your worth when you begin chasing approval. You have to become the person who notices. The person who interrupts the pattern. The person who can say, I know what my mind is trying to do, and I am not following it this time. That is intelligence in its most practical form. Not winning every argument. Not sounding impressive. Not collecting information you never use. It is seeing clearly when emotions are loud. It is choosing slowly when others pressure you. It is recognizing patterns before they become consequences. It is keeping promises that nobody else knows you made. And perhaps the deepest form of intelligence is realizing that your life is shaped less by one enormous decision than by the standards you quietly repeat. What you tolerate. What you consume. What you avoid. What you practice. Who you become around certain people. What you do when nobody is watching. You do not need to transform everything tonight. But you do need to stop pretending that your smallest choices do not matter. They are voting for the person you are becoming. So the next time you feel the urge to escape, pause. The next time someone's words conflict with their pattern, believe the pattern. The next time fear tells you to wait until you feel ready, take one controlled step. And the next time you are tempted to betray yourself for temporary approval, remember this. Losing someone else's approval may hurt for a while. Losing your own respect follows you everywhere. Become difficult to distract. Difficult to manipulate. Difficult to provoke. Not because you have become emotionless, but because you finally understand what your emotions are trying to do. The goal is not to know everything. The goal is to see clearly enough that the same illusion cannot control you twice. If this helped you see yourself differently, subscribe for more deep psychology and self-improvement lessons.